Welcome everybody to today's AgeWise Colorado webinar on decluttering, hoarding, transitioning to a new home, resources that can help. And I am going to start a short slideshow introduction, and then I will introduce our panelists for today, and we'll get started. So our presenters today are Anna Guevara from Seniors Resource Center, Bobby Joe Kinsey from Trusted Transitions, Amy Larchick from Life Caddy, and Heather Murphy also from Seniors Resource Center. And I'm Bob Brocker. I'll be moderating the panel today, and our Executive Director, Barbara Boyer, is on the call as well. So who is AgeWise Colorado? We are working to become the premier resource hub for aging Coloradans and their families, to help people age well and age wisely. So there are 2.7 million people in Colorado who are over the age of 40, and that is our audience. So whether you are here in the center of this sandwich or on the outside, this side of it, either way, we're here for you. A little known fact for many folks is that the population is changing pretty dramatically, not only in Colorado, but all across the United States. So the number of people over the age of 65 will soon be more than the people under age 18. That has already happened in many states. It's scheduled to happen here somewhere around 2030. So we are becoming the hub for all things aging, which includes all of these areas. We're talking about services today that help people with moving and aging in place. We'll be having some other webinars in the future on aging technologies and so on. We've had several already on a variety of different topics, including Medicare, Medicaid, hearing and vision loss, wills and estate planning, end of life planning, and so on. And we'll be having a lot more in the future. We're scheduling about 2 of these every month. So we're working here to make what is too often invisible visible. So what is often invisible are the many, many thousands of services that are available to that 2.7 million people in Colorado, to make sure that people are aware of what is available for them and where to find it. So we serve older Coloradans, the adult children of older Coloradans, service providers like some of the folks you're going to be hearing from today, employers, is a real employee benefit as well, and all Colorado businesses who can support a social benefit for Coloradans. And that is our webinars that are coming up. Well, one of them's already happened, so that was a couple of weeks ago. We had one on the area agencies on aging, which many people are not even aware of that they exist. So they talked about who they are and what they do. Today, we're talking about, do you have too much stuff? Are you hoarding? Can you declutter? And this is a good time of year to think about that. On May 4th, we're going to be talking about home modifications for comfort and safety. On May 19th, age tech. So the technology area for aging is absolutely exploding. So we're going to be talking about what that means and what's going on in that world. And then on June 1, downsizing and home sharing alternatives. And then on June 16th, healthcare at home. Okay, so these are today's panelist organizations, and what I'm going to do next is introduce our panel. First up is Bobby Joe Kinsey with Trusted Transitions. Bobby Joe started her interior design and organization career with a degree in design from the Art Institute of Chicago. From the Art Institute of Las Vegas, I'm sorry, that's a long way from Chicago. After graduating, she worked in a customer-facing role, helping clients overcome challenges with innovative solutions in both residential and commercial design. Bobby Joe has served in volunteer leadership roles for the Central California, Nevada chapter of American Society of Interior Design and at the Colorado Interior Design Coalition, where she has helped interior designers qualify for their licensing in Colorado. After experiencing senior relocation services on a personal level with family members, she wanted to help others in the same situation and launched Trusted Transitions of Colorado in 2020, where it's all about helping older adults downsize, design, and relocate to their new home. Our next panelist, and I should have popped Bobby Joe's picture up on the screen there. I didn't do that. Okay, there you go. There's Bobby Joe. Okay, Amy Larchick is our next panelist. Amy is with LifeCaddy. Amy has worked with the 55 and older community for over 20 years and holds a BA in speech, language pathology, and audiology, and has worked as a certified nurse assistant. Amy witnessed her loved ones go through the downsizing process and observed how stressful and complicated the undertaking could be, saw how family members wanted to help but struggled to find the time while juggling the demands of career and family. It was often simply overwhelming. This drove her to create LifeCaddy, the compassionate solution to downsizing and transitioning. Amy and the LifeCaddy team's mission is to allow adults to thrive in their own living space and through life's transitions. The team's role is to be the trusted professionals who help organize the homes and lives of adults with judgment-free delivery of service. And our next panelist is Heather Murphy. Heather joined SRC, Seniors Resource Center, in 2017 and is a licensed clinical social worker with a background serving marginalized populations over more than 15 years. Heather is responsible for the alignment of all SRC services that take place in a client's home, as well as program development, implementation, measurement, outcome tracking, grant management, budgeting, and outreach. Heather has a master's degree in social work from the University of Denver and a Bachelor of Arts degree from Colgate University. She participates in many work groups and coalitions throughout the Denver metro area and is passionate about aligning efforts and avoiding duplication in order to better serve those in need. And our final panelist is Anna Guevara, who is also with Senior Resource Center. Joining there in 2019, has been involved in every aspect of the tours program since then, and she'll talk about what that means. She has been integral in guiding the tours program through changes during COVID and growing the program since that time. Anna finds purpose working to help our older adults continue to live independently and with dignity. And speaking as an older adult, I really appreciate that. She is a new mom and rarely gets to see her own home clean nowadays, so can relate to how SRC clients feel productive and in control of their lives after a home cleaning. Okay, so thanks to all of our panelists for joining us today. And I guess I would start with you, Bobby Joe, and you can talk a little bit more about what you do and why you're doing it. And then if people have questions, we probably can take a few of those. So take it away, Bobby Joe.
What my company does, Trusted Transitions, is a lot of different things. We can do all or as little as much as a client needs them to do, or needs us to do. My last client, for example, was in a large home, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, by herself. She's 87 years old, still drives, but wanted to move into an independent living facility because she didn't want to deal with the house and the yard and the shoveling and all that stuff anymore on her own. So we went through a lot of her things. The thing I first tell people when they're in a situation like her is we need to figure out where you're moving first. So then we can determine of the things that we're downsizing, what things are going to go over into the new facility or place that you're living, and then what things we may have to purchase. And then from there, after they've determined where they're going to live, we need to talk to the family so that they can go through the items and make sure that they are able to have all the keepsakes that they need before we start going through to donate or junk or do an estate sale, with all of the transitioning of the things that they've collected during their life. With my interior design background, she said when we moved her into this place, when we first looked at it, she goes, "It's white and gray. It's boring." So we also then picked out a paint color and painted an accent wall, and then we splattered that color throughout the design in her unit. So it was happy and not just white and gray. So it was cheerful, and she has lots of windows and lots of natural light and lots of activities. So, and that move was something that was more of an easy move because we weren't dealing with dementia or some other illness where they had to move into an assisted situation. But I also try to bring the family into the decisions for them so that the family is part of the decision making. And we just what I try to do is design the new place so that it feels like their old place, so that though they're moving to a smaller place, it still feels comfortable and they still feel like they're at home, which is, I think, very important for them. This generation that we're working with, their main thing in life they were taught was to pay off their house. That was their biggest success in life. And now we're asking them to move into a smaller place and get rid of their house. So it's very difficult. A lot of them also lived through the Depression. So they hold on to a lot of things. And I know that's what we're talking about today, is the downsizing and what is clutter and what is hoarding. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But that's basically what my company will do. And anything in between that needs to happen. Sometimes we can help guide them with how your long-term care insurance works, financial questions, and anything in between that has to go with that transition. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I also look forward to hearing from my co-presenters and learning from them as well.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Bobby Joe. Much appreciated. Our next speaker is Amy Larchick. And go ahead and put you back in the spotlight here, Amy. And,
there we go. Hi, I'm Amy Larchick, and I'm with Life Caddy. Life Caddy is a professional organizing service provider. We help people organize their items and their belongings in their home, but we also help people organize their life. That's where we came up with the name Life Caddy, because we help people guide them through the course of their life. I started being a professional organizer for similar to the same reasons as Bobby, is that I saw family and friends struggling with the organizing process. And because of my background in audiology and speech language pathology, I've always worked with the elderly. And so I've always naturally gravitated to the elderly. But also I've seen the need for organizing skills to be implemented in their home, and not just with the items and belongings, but also with their life and their whatever they may need in life. But I've also seen it with the issues with organizing problems with people who might have dementia or Alzheimer's and ADHD, and so because of my background in audiology, I was able to provide systems that work individually with these clients. And yeah, so that's how I started working in this field.
All right, thank you very much. We'll loop back. I have several questions, and we'll loop back on those in a minute. Next up would be Anna Guevara at Seniors Resource Center. So Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I work for Seniors Resource Center, and Heather's actually my boss. And Just to describe it's one program, but it's two programs, I guess. The chore services and then the decluttering services we have are thankfully all provided at no cost to older adults over 60. Our chores program is able to help older adults clean, do a deep clean in the home, vacuum, clean the bathroom, really just set up our older adults for hopefully a couple of weeks, or just to feel proud of their home when their family comes to visit. And it is a deeper clean, and it is at no cost. We also provide yard work services, window washing, organization, maybe the closet, or just organizing in a way that the older adults can feel maybe their closet's a lot cleaner. They can go shopping again, or we just maybe don't do it as intense as Amy and Bobby, but we do provide help with that, as well as packing and unpacking with a move. So we do have a couple of services within the chores program, and then the decluttering program is more for helping haul items out, furniture. It's more intense, and it is what's is sometimes what is referred to as hoarding. We are able to help with the cost on that as well, which is really helpful. I'm sure it's overwhelming to just live in clutter, right? And realize that you need to do something about it, but then when you physically can't, or maybe financially, and for us to be able to help out with both of those parts is amazing to see that the aftermath of that. We haul items out, but it's not us just coming in and taking our clients' possessions, because we know they're very attached for emotional reason. Like you never know. We meet our clients where they're at with both services, and especially with the decluttering. Some of these services might take up to 2 months. It's not an everyday thing. It's where the client, when they feel motivated to allow us into the home, when they feel motivated to go into a room that maybe someone they really loved, either lived in there, or they just have great memories in. And I am just really proud of where clients, the progress they're able to make, whether it's in a week or in 2 to 3 months. And yeah, that's basically both of the services that we do. One of them's a little bit of a deeper clean, 3 hours. I like to just, imagine, family coming into the clients' homes and just being so proud of them that they're upkeeping with their home. And then the decluttering service, which is usually has to do with either eviction notices, family passed away, they're just really not motivated to get rid of those items, things like that. So those are the two services that I supervise.
I just wanted to, I'm here to support Anna. She is the expert on our decluttering and deep cleaning services, but I wanted to give a little bit of an explanation about what the rest of our agency does, because it's one of our many really important services. And so we are a seniors resource center. And Bob, if you want to go back a few slides. Seniors Resource Center. Oh.
There you go.
There we go. Is a 40-plus-year-old nonprofit in the metro area, really supporting older adults and aging at home. And so we provide a variety of services to that. And the next slide kind of goes over the 4 main areas of that support. And so we answer, because our title is Seniors Resource Center, we get a lot of calls. And so we provide a lot of answers about aging. We provide answers about aging that we can support. And then if it's a service beyond what we do at SRC, we make a referral to another agency in the community. We help around the home, and that is a spectrum of services from the light housekeeping. So maybe help with errands and making the bed and doing the laundry, light housekeeping of the bathroom and the kitchen areas, then to the deeper cleaning. So maybe it's stuff that's not safe or challenging for our clients to do. And Anna listed many of those services, but I also want to point out carpet cleaning. And so just along that same, we want to support older adults in feeling proud of their environment and in being and having that dignity and being in a clean environment. And so that's something that can be beyond the scope of what they could do. In addition to those types of services, we help during the day. So for folks that it's not safe for them to stay at home, they have dementia, and they need a stimulating, engaging environment full of activity. We have on-site services to support those folks in a safe and engaging manner. And then we realize that there are lots of unpaid caregivers out there, and we are there to support those folks as well, not only in supporting maybe the person that they're caring for, but also what they're going through as they take on that journey. And so just wanted to kind of give a little bit of an overview of our agency, but really Anna is the expert on our chores services that includes the deep cleaning and decluttering. And so she's the point person for all those questions. Thanks, Bob.
I guess I would first like to ask our audience if you have any questions of any of our presenters. If you don't, I do, but let's let you see first. Okay, we have one from Meg Nagel. Are any of these services available on the Western Slope?
I normally do not do the Western Slope. I focus in Aurora and Denver area and the surrounding areas of Denver. So I've gone as far as Boulder, and I go as far as Castle Rock and Arvada area, but mostly Denver and Aurora and those close surrounding areas.
Okay.
I cover Fort Collins down to Colorado Springs, and I will go to the Western Slope depending on the situation. Definitely.
So Heather, what areas does Seniors Resource Center actually cover?
Yeah, metro-wide, and then a footprint in the foothills. So Evergreen, Conifer, Idaho Springs, etc., moving that way west. But yeah, not as far as the Western Slope, more metro plus foothills area.
I'd like to ask, any of you who choose to answer this question, but maybe you all want to answer it, is where do you draw the line between clutter and hoarding?
If you look at the definition of clutter, which is basically an untidy mass, I'm going off of the dictionary, and hoarding is the persistent difficulty discarding or parting with possessions because of a perceived need to save them. Hoarding is probably, in a definition, a larger scale of clutter, because you can have, clutter like Anna goes home and sometimes there's stuff all over the place from, an infant and young children and puppies, but that gets cleaned up and gets put away. And some people like to save a lot of magazines and things, but hoarding, in the way I look at it, becomes because they're attached to things and can't, for whatever reason, are unable to get rid of them, and it becomes a safety issue to where it's a fire hazard or a trip hazard for elderly, where things are stacked up so much that they're having a hard time walking around their house. So that's where I kind of draw the line in the definition between clutter and hoarding, is when it becomes a safety issue.
So I'm similar. Where I draw the line is where I think hoarding comes in place for me is when you can't use a room anymore because it is so cluttered or disorganized and piles are stacked up that the room is no longer functional. So I can possibly take a job that maybe one room was like that, but if the whole house was like that, then it would probably be something I wouldn't take. And what to me is also a sign is where it's hazardous, and then I wouldn't take a job that is hazardous. And then if it is just one room and there are just piles, I think that's kind of, for me, a red flag of when this could potentially turn into more of a hoarding situation, because it kind of starts in one room and then that one room gets filled up and you can't walk through it and you can't use it anymore. And then it starts trickling out the door and there'll be piles on the floor and piles everywhere, and it becomes a safety issue. And then that's when I am really concerned. And I try to come in before that situation occurs. And that's usually when I do come in, is because I'm referred to the client by a loved one. And so then I come in to help with that decluttering process and organizing process and create systems and structure that allows them to not get into a hoarding situation.
I would just like to add, when I approve quotes, because we do have to meet certain criteria to be able to approve the quotes and the services at no cost, not only, you know, over 60 and that our clients live in the counties we service. It is different. There is a scale of clutter, like by room, right? And then also living room. And usually it's between 5 that I don't know if we can.
Amy, if you stop sharing, I can pull up the scale that she's referring to.
Is that okay? So I have to look at this scale to be able to approve quotes. And so the company we work with, Clutter Truckers, they will send us pictures of course, with the client's consent of what either the room or the living room looks like, or home, because it is to that extent sometimes, or apartment. So there are instances where our clients are on walkers. There are pets involved. It really is by situation, and we do thankfully get a story whenever we get pictures sent in. For the most part, as of late, it's been between 4 and 9 for quite a bit of rooms. I mean, we also were isolated. You know, maybe there wasn't motivation. People couldn't see their families for help. So it is a little bit more, lately it's been a lot more cluttered, but you know, even like a level 3, depending on the person, if they're on, you know, an oxygen tank, they're on a walker, they have a couple of pets, that, you know, it really depends on the situation. And but for the most part, it should be around 4 to 9. And I have seen level 9 rooms, and usually it's not just one room, it's cluttered all over the home, and then the level 9 is just one room that's really not used too much. But it does get tricky with older adults. It can just there is, you know, sometimes they're able to hide it, they have their own home, they're not going to get an eviction notice. But when it's an apartment, you know, it's it can just, yeah, it varies by story. So that is one of the tools that I use to approve quotes, but it also, we have to take into account the mobility and just where they're at. One thing I did want to mention is that our Clutter Truckers, which is the company that does come in to do these services, they do come in with hazmat suits if needed, because sometimes we do deal with incontinence issues, and also they will prep for extermination. So, you know, if there's bed bugs, roaches, or mice, we're not able to actually get rid of them, but we're able to prep for that service. Unfortunately, we can't fund, you know, someone to come in and do the actual extermination, but we are able to come in with the hazmat suits. With chores, we're not able to do that though. Unfortunately, the clients can't have bed bugs, roaches, or mice. But yeah, that's one of the tools that I use.
Well, that's a pretty interesting tool. You know, some of those pictures look pretty bad. So I guess another question would be, so when you come into one that's like a 4 to 9, especially the you know, the 7 to 9s, is there anything else that can happen to help the situation from reoccurring? Is there, I know there are a number of agencies that help people who are kind of in those situations, because, you know, typically that would not be something a person in a normal state of mind would be doing. So can you talk about that?
What I will add in is that hoarding is considered a behavioral health diagnosis. And so there is criteria to meet that diagnosis, and really an emotional connection to those items. And so what we first do is to try to determine what's the barrier to this safety, what is causing this issue. And we want to get the client plugged in to the services that can help support that. And so Jefferson Center for Mental Health offers support for folks with hoarding. And so that's really the experts that we lean on to support the clients, because we can go in and provide a clean to get them in compliance with their, apartment complex in a safer environment. But really the work that needs to take place to make it sustainable is long-term work and requires additional assistance. And so, and I think Anna said something earlier that I just want to highlight too. It's that we walk alongside our clients, right? This work doesn't, it's not effective in isolation of the client's consent. And so when we're doing these types of cleaning support, it's with the consent of the client, and that buy-in helps to make it more sustainable as well.
So you said with the consent of the client. Okay, so here's the situation. Let's just say you get a call from a family member that says, "Hey, I need you to go to my mom or dad's place because I was there a week ago and it looks really, really bad." And then, so do you then go back to the person that referred you and say, "Okay, here's the situation, and there's more help that's needed"? I mean, how does that all work?
We have someone that helps us with intake, Debbie Hall, and typically how calls come in is, a family member will be concerned, and they will say, "Hey, my mom, she needs help with, cleaning out her home," and it's very understandable that they're more concerned visually at what it looks like. But we do need consent. So we can't even go in to get the quote or pictures before the mom would say, yes, it's okay for you guys to come in. So what we'll do is we'll reach out to the mom in the situation and just kind of ask if it'd be possible for us to just, it's all about the wording. And it's also sometimes clients themselves will call and say, "Hey, I need help cleaning this room out. I can barely walk in it," or anything like that kind of triggers us to know that possibly they might need a deeper clean than 3 hours. So it is about those clues, and while we're talking to clients and being patient. I know there was one client that it took us finally this year. She allowed us to do a pretty good clean. And I know our conversation started back in 2019. This client is in an apartment, and the eviction notices were coming in. She was able to loop around them, but she would give us consent, and then we would show up and she wouldn't answer the door. So we can't help unless they allow us to help.
Mhm.
It's all, yeah, we need full consent for even just the quote. So
Okay, all right, thank you. Ryan has a question.
Oh, yeah, thank you. This is really helpful, by the way. I feel like I have a lot of clients who would benefit from this. I guess my question is, I have two questions. First off is as far as costs, kind of what that would entail. And, a few of my clients, I feel like and I'm wondering if this is kind of included in your services that y'all do, is, a lot of them have issues kind of prioritizing. So they get tons and tons of mail. And a lot of it is about Medicare benefits and Medicaid benefits, but a lot of it is about kind of personal life stuff too, helping their kids out, saving receipts and that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily hoarding. It definitely is clutter. I would say, do you all, do those services include kind of helping folks kind of prioritize and sort that kind of paperwork out, throw things out? I mean, I've had 2 home visits recently where I literally went to folks' house and just opened mail with them for an hour or an hour and a half and help them. I don't think I was very successful because I tend to be a minimalist. I throw things away a lot. I don't even bring junk mail into the house, but but I didn't push that on them, of course, you know what I mean? I let them direct the session of opening mail and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if I articulated that well, but I was just hoping to hear some thoughts on that.
So that's definitely something that Life Caddy helps with. We really focus on a personalized service that's individualized towards the client and where they're at. So we meet them where they're at, and we try to work from where they're at, and we try to create, or we do create, systems and structures and schedules of when to go through those items. So we first go through the process with them, and then we show them the process and work with them, and we kind of pivot or tweak it to work for them specifically and how their routine in their life is, and try to make it implement it into their life. So every client is different. Everybody, you have different ways of identifying what is necessary and what isn't necessary. We just try to meet them where they're at and then work from there. And then once we're in there for a while, sometimes when we create these systems and structures and processes, it becomes very natural for them to complete the work on their own. And then sometimes we just come back in and then try to like refresh and move on from where they left off.
And could you also reply to the question about cost? I mean, can you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so it depends on the capacity and the amount of clutter they may have and what the client wants. A lot of times we'll come in and they just want one person that they've established a relationship with, and then that one person works with them. But if they're comfortable of having multiple people, the cost increases from there. So I usually say that it starts off at $75 an hour. So it depends on, we like create a package for them. So it depends on where they're at and what they need. So it may be more depending on if they need multiple people in the house.
Okay, thank you. And Bobby Joe?
Ryan, what do you do for a living?
Oh, I work for Denver Regional Council of Governments. I'm an options counselor and / case manager
Okay.
for clients. So yeah.
I was just curious because not a lot of people would go in and sit with these people for hours and open their mail. I mean, that's something that I would do, as I'm sure all of the other ladies presenters would do, just because people that I'm working with, I care about them and I want to see them healthy and happy, and going through and helping them figure out what's good to keep, what's not good to keep, and then putting something together to help them continue to do that, as Amy says, processes. As far as cost, I'm the exact same Amy is, at $75 an hour, and then it's based on a package based on what their needs are and how great their needs are. I mean, are we going through stuff to get them to move? Or are we going through stuff just to declutter and downsize? So there's all different ways. But if somebody's asking an hourly, as Amy said, it starts at 75 an hour and then goes from there based on the needs of the client and the project. So, but I mean, kudos to you for helping those people out, because there's so many people out there that need the help.
Yeah, it was something I did just, I told the client beforehand, I said, I can't do this in the long term, and it was just kind of a courtesy, more than anything. But.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I didn't end up working with this couple, and that I'm going to talk about actually would refer them to Heather and Anna. It was a husband and wife. She fell and needed to go into rehab. Neither of them have any children or a living family. He's blind. So he was in the house by himself while she was in the house. And from my understanding, because I never went into the house, but from the social workers that I talked to, it was a kind of a hoarding situation and it really wasn't safe. They didn't want to release her unless it was into an assisted living home because of the safety for both of them. But their mailman was bringing McDonald's to him for lunch while she was in the hospital. So there's situations like that where people like yourself are helping out, which is awesome because there's so many people that need it. And I know that they didn't have a ton of money other than what they had in the house. So that's where I would reach out to Heather and Anna in a situation, because they were in their 80s. So they definitely qualify for your program. So it's just a matter of taking a look at each job and who best fits which program. And because it's not, just because somebody calls me doesn't mean I'm going to end up working with them, but I'm very happy to refer somebody to somebody that absolutely could help them, like this situation. So as Amy said, every client is different and every situation is different.
Okay, thanks, Bobby Joe.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I just also mention, so I have seen different stories as well, as you were mentioning, Bobby, with, going through mail and shredding, or going through mail. I know there was someone that we worked with that she didn't want to get rid of the mail she didn't need. It's just different with everyone, but thankfully, so Ryan, you work for Dr. Cog, but our services are at no cost. So it just, again, depends how long we'd have to do it, but either way, it's at no cost, and we can help with, not that we're experts, but we can help with going through the mail, magazines, newspapers. I've seen big piles of that, and those usually, I feel like they do take a little bit longer. So that's really nice that you were able to help that person out. And but yeah, we're able to help with that.
So while you're on there, Anna, we had a question about Arapahoe County. Do you serve Arapahoe County?
Yes, yeah. So we're able to service, and sorry, we didn't have the PowerPoint updated because this is like a new update. But we are able to service Arapahoe County and Douglas for the decluttering services. Not quite yet on chore services, so the 3-hour services, but for sure the decluttering. So yeah, Douglas and Arapahoe are on there, and Gilpin. So.
Okay, so another question. So I heard earlier that one of the key groups that you all are serving is what we would call the silent generation. So people typically in their 80s and above. But now we have a new generation coming along, which is the one I'm in, the boomer generation. So what are your expectations of differences between those two generations in terms of what kind of work you do and what you provide?
I don't expect to see any differences, other than maybe holding on to more items, multiple items in the 80s and 90s, just because of what they lived through in the early part and of their lives and what they were taught, hold on to everything. And boomers typically, I won't say typically, but in my experience, haven't had as many items, but they still might hold on to multiple. I mean, I'm just in my own family. I had a situation where they had 6 coffee machines in the basement. And I said, why do you have so many coffee machines? And she said, well, we might need a part. And that's, someone in the 80s and 90s. And so they kept those things. But I don't generally see people in the 60s and 70s so much doing that, because they're, I think, a little more and have been a little more open to some education, have been involved more in the computer tech world. So there is a little bit of a learning curve in that respect. But that's really the biggest difference that I see between those two generations. I don't know about the other ladies, but that's been my experience.
Okay, thank you.
Similar. Yeah, for me, I would agree with you, Bobby, with the 80s group. It's usually more like tangible things. But the younger group for me is always more of the lifestyle services that I provide. It's more of the technical pieces and implementing technical resources in the home, or Alexa devices, or more of those life skills, and not the decluttering and downsizing. It's more of providing them with services that could help them with the technology, because they know the technology's there.
What I've experienced is just with the younger group is a little bit more awareness, and I don't know if it's because of the TV shows, but they will sometimes themselves just say, I am a hoarder, But with the older group, it's more of working through why we need to help. So it's just those two things. I don't know if it's, again, the shows and just, but I have just noticed awareness of the actual term hoarding, and just that's what I would say. Yeah.
So you may have heard people actually say, I'm a hoarder and I need help. So, yes, okay. Well, that's good to know. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. I still can't get over those pictures that you had up there earlier. There was I don't know if you ever saw that movie on television, Grey Gardens. Did you see that? It was about this very wealthy woman and her daughter in Long Island, I think it was, and they lived in a house that was just full of stuff. Things were falling apart, and they had stuff piled everywhere. It was a true story.
They're related to the Kennedys or Jackie Onassis.
That's right. That's right. So here are people who could have done, who could have lived in a nice, clean place, and they chose not to. There was mention earlier about the Jefferson Center for Mental Health. I assume that just serves Jefferson County. Is that correct, Heather?
I believe they, I don't want to quote them. I don't know what their service area is. It definitely serves Jefferson County, but it may be Clear Creek and Gilpin as well, but I can't say that for certain.
Does every county have something like that, or do the larger counties anyway, like Denver County and Arapahoe County?
Certainly they all have a community mental health center, which Jefferson Center is for that region. But specifically support with hoarding disorder, we recognize it was a big gap. And we were starting to, there were more of the cleaning services available, yet services to address the underlying cause of the clutter buildup wasn't being addressed. And so they went ahead and sought out training to, kind of prepare themselves to develop support around that area. So I don't know what other supports exist throughout the metro area, but there also is, if it doesn't exist, my understanding of the community mental health centers is if you lived in Arapahoe County, but you wanted to see someone at Jefferson Center, they would let you do that. There's some reciprocity that happens to allow for access.
All right, that's good to know.
I did quickly just look up the flyer for Buried in Treasures, Heather, and they serve pretty much the counties we do. This was from back in 2021, but so they also service older adults, and Buried in Treasures is just like a group therapy for clients that have unfortunately hoarding issues. But it's Jefferson, Denver, Clear Creek, Gilpin, Broomfield, Adams, or Arapahoe counties, and the funding is through Dr. Cog. So that's from 2021. So I'm not sure how updated that is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just to clarify the Dr. Cog thing, and I think Ryan's still on here. My understanding is that Dr. Cog is funded, through the Older Americans Act and the Older Coloradans Fund, and the mission is to serve people over the age of 60 without any income qualification. However, and it's kind of a big however, the priority for services goes to people who are of limited means. And if I've said anything incorrect there, Ryan or Heather, I know you used to work there, so correct me, but I think that's correct.
Yep, that would be an accurate description of where it comes from and how it's managed. So we don't income qualify folks for the service, and as long as it's readily available, there's no additional layers of criteria to meet in order to receive the service. So at the current time, those services are scheduling out a few weeks for the chores and the excessive clutter cleanup. So they're pretty accessible so long as you meet the basic criteria, which is 60 and over and residing in one of the served counties.
Okay. And that would be true for any AAA that offers that service in Colorado. Okay. We have a question from Cindy. Don't know if we still have hoarding counseling, but I will find out. And yes to what Heather says. Okay. Okay. I don't know. Cindy, who are you with?
I'm with Dr. Cog.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. One last question for me, and certainly open to other questions from other folks, is given the services that you all provide and the way the population is changing, in other words, getting older, and the fact that the 75 plus age group is probably the fastest growing population, at least in terms of percentages. Do you see any decrease in demand for what you provide in the next 10 years? No.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, an increase, not a decrease.
Okay. So you're going to
Same
be
with me. It's the busiest I've ever seen it. I've been doing this for 7 years and I have never been more booked out before. I think, in fact, COVID, once that hit and people were like living in their homes more, they saw the need to make their homes a more healthy and safe environment, or a more pleasant environment. And they just realized how valuable that real estate is. And so they wanted to make the most out of it. And that's when the past year, when COVID hit, in the past 2 years, is when I became my most busiest.
Interesting. Okay.
Same with us. Sorry, same with us. It's quite literally a spring cleaning, and I feel like older adults are advocating for themselves and saying, "Hey, I do need help." And this, as a supervisor, this is the busiest I've seen the decluttering services. It's increased quite a bit.
Bob, I'm a member of the National Association of Senior Move Managers, which is a national organization across the U.S. And in talking to the executive director when I joined a little over a year and a half ago, she said the next 20 years will probably be 10 to 20 years will be the busiest for this occupation, because you're seeing those that are 60 and older retiring, looking at lifestyle changes after living through COVID. As Anna said, so many things have changed in people's lives and how they look at how they live and where they want to live and what they want to experience and what they want to put their time into, and how much they've learned. We really need to learn to enjoy our lives, and what does that mean? And so I think, if anything, it's just going to get busier, and it's going to stay that way for another decade at least.
There's no chance of you folks going out of business. You're going to be really busy.
Anna, I do have one more question for Anna, and that side of it, Senior Resource Center. When you say that you have to assess and then it might take a while to get in there, what do you recommend for emergency services? Because often when I get called, it's because it's an emergency, like family member has passed away, or they have to move, and like the situation's always very urgent. So what do you recommend for that kind of scenario, or what do you offer for that kind of scenario?
Yeah, I am just really proud of the relationship we have with Clutter Truckers. And if we say, this is an eviction notice, they just like now got motivation and they're gonna come check tomorrow. I've seen, we need work-life balance, but Clutter Truckers is just so kind, and they will accommodate to the need of it to be a lot quicker, especially since we are working with other clients that have had maybe a year and they're just taking their time. When they feel motivated, they're able to move schedules around according to the need. So if it is just like an urgent matter, I just ask that if you send a referral, please let us know so we can get to sending that out to Clutter Truckers or making contact with the person for consent, like ASAP. We just need to know that it's needed fairly.
But when clutter truckers come, that's a charge, right? Your services, no?
No, so
you,
Heather, if maybe Heather could explain it better, but they're a contracting company that we work with.
Okay, I get
we
it.
subcontract the service, and we have a partnership with them to provide the direct service for that excessive clutter cleanup. But and so to Anna's point, if there is an urgent need, we have a way to support that urgent need, and we get that. And so we'll definitely do our best to accommodate if it is time sensitive.
Well, thanks once again. I mean, this has been very interesting and very informative, and I really appreciate everybody's input and questions and joining us today. So with that, everybody have a great afternoon, and thanks once again. So we'll see you next time. Okay, take care.